Hi, I'm Ursula Silling. I'm the CEO and founder of XXA Solutions, and our claim is do things differently. And that's what we are all about, an untypical consultancy company. I've worked in aviation for more than 27 years, from Lufthansa, British Airways, Aerosvit in Ukraine, various startup airlines, before I founded XXA Solutions as a consultancy company in 2010. And we focus on helping particularly airlines and airport with digital transformation, change management. We also help them to innovate, to develop their commercial strategy. We do interim management to just succeed better in the difficult and rapidly changing and dynamic marketplace. I held this presentation about the 5 key technologies you need to know for travel retail merchandising at the Airline Information Airline Merchandising Conference in Edinburgh on the 11th of April 2018. And actually, when I started off in this relatively dark conference room in the morning at 9 o'clock, I was wearing glasses, and I think some people were thinking I'm a little bit strange or I have a big ego, because these sunglasses were also like really flashing red. But actually, these seemingly sunglasses were specs from Snapchat, and they help that you can do little snaps, little videos wherever you are, whether it's via travel or actually I took a little video whilst people were looking at me and wondering what I was wearing these sunglasses about. And if you compare that wearables actually achieve really, really high growth rates of, for example, smart glasses, by 100% average growth rate per year, and expected to be 1 million in 2022, they are seemingly very important. Smart watches will actually even reach up to 10 million in 2022. Yet they are only one part of the coin, and they just show how the world is moving and how fast tech is moving, and customers adopt this. So if I think about then airlines and my different experiences in airlines and think about the tech landscape, there are a couple of pictures which come to my mind. The one is actually this one, which looks a little bit like a strange pattern and a little bit confusing lines in between, not completely clear and straight. And you might realize what this is about. Actually, this is the floor plan of the cleaning that my vacuum cleaner bot, Alfonso, has done the other day. And he's a little bit confused. He's not completely, he's supposed to be very systematic. When you watch him, it doesn't completely look like it, but he ultimately achieves this goal. But I keep wondering if it could be achieved even better. The other picture which comes to my mind is this one of a graveyard, because sometimes I have the feeling that airlines do actually like to keep up technologies, and maybe they want to be in the Guinness Book of Records for reaching the century of legacy technologies. And this in spite of a world where actually you could argue, shouldn't they be buried? Because if you look at the top 10 largest companies in the world by market value, just for last year, and that trend has been going on for a while, then more than 50% are actually tech companies. And if you account Amazon as a tech company as well, while it's also being in the retail sphere, this would already get more than that. So latest CFOs of airlines should have become aware of this, and for the sake of the company value, should maybe have reviewed and actually even been driving new technology development. If you look at what is happening on the technology side, and you look at this little illustration here, which is not meant to be complete, but it's meant to show two things. One is you see that since the 50s, when technologies such as the GDS and electronic rest system were developed, and at that time airlines were actually very innovative with this, then it moved to mobile, and in the 90s to USB flashcards, and also the first website and blogging. This was about it in that period. Then if you look as from 2000, so only in the last 17 years, there have been so many completely new, really main developments changing the world. The iPhone might just be one example, starting the whole smartphone era, but face-to-face, virtually, technology, video streaming, APIs, and chats, apps, snaps, all of this has evolved and is still very, very relevant in the present and also for the future. And I want to pick for this presentation 5 of those really, I think, big ones, which are going to make big changes for the future, and are some which you should not ignore, and which also demonstrate very much that the tech evolution is moving from purpose-driven to smart. This is artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's voice, robotics, blockchain, and not directly a technology, but I think this combination of tech and human will make a big difference. And there are lots of others, which I'm not going to expand upon more. I already touched upon the wearables, the cloud, which makes a big difference, augmented reality and virtual reality, where in particular in travel there might be more opportunities, because we tend to forget that people travel with a destination in mind, maybe looking forward for their holidays. They don't have the trip as such in mind. If we manage to explain that better, to make that better, and even using visuals for this, actually their holidays would start already at the beginning. And even for your business trip, actually, you would start a more relaxed trip altogether. And IoT, the Internet of Things, the connection and integration of several technologies is actually absolutely key and a huge trend to have in mind. So as always, it's about understanding your customers, understanding data, and turning it into insight. If you think about how relevant this is, you just think about what's happening as we speak every 60 seconds on Facebook. There are more than 500,000 comments posted in every 60 seconds. There are almost 300,000 statuses updated, and there are 140 photos uploaded and shared. So maybe photos from holidays, maybe photos from travel. The connected devices, so the Internet of Things, are expected to increase from 20 billion today to 31 billion by 2020, and even 75 billion another 5 years later. Yet there is 80% of unstructured data in organizations, and with more data being produced, organizations need to think about how to tackle this. And at the same time, customer expectations and lifestyles are changing. So it is important to understand the customer, to understand data, to be able to develop the right strategy and to differentiate. And don't forget, we tend to think about customers as a different species. Our employees behave in this way as well. and they have different expectations and partly get into a work environment which forbids using the technologies which have become so normal every day for what you do. Just think about chat, WhatsApp or WeChat. It is very likely that consumer expectations will actually outpace companies' ability to deliver meaningful experiences unless we really change and we really adjust how we are working and use latest technologies in order to be able to do this. TUI is actually working in terms of data to put all of them on blockchain. Then there is this software which you might know and helps actually with travel decisions, which is Hopper. Hopper are working now on the FlexWatch, which is the next big step. What they normally do is they have created an algorithm, a calculation of price development for airline flights. So they are predicting, they're telling the customer, buy now because prices will increase, or they say actually wait because prices will still go down further. And now with the Flex Watch, they are also turning their Hopper Bunny into a travel agent by using artificial intelligence. So if you don't have a set destination or specific dates in mind, FlexWatch will make recommendations and it will alert you about incredible flight details. And they will do this in a very relevant way, in complete contrast to a lot of other sites which just flood consumers with completely irrelevant deals for destinations they actually don't really care about. The other, I think, very good example for all of you who use Spotify is the Discover Weekly, which is actually an amazing way of personalizing music in an automated way, according to your needs, your likes, and even making it interesting by proposing music you haven't known yet, but which is extremely interested and which you really like. We all think of Amazon as actually the best one in terms of retailing and understanding customers and making the right offers. I'm sometimes wondering if Amazon was the best one for many years, but given where we are now, it is surprising that they keep offering you stuff which you have actually already bought, coupled with some other deficiencies. So they will need to be moving, given where technology enablers are moving. Here you see the example of Hopper in case you want to look it up. And another very simple thing, sometimes we forget to simply ask customers. Whilst there are all of these possibilities with crowdsourcing, or very simply on your website, just ask the customer. And I think this Lonely Planet example is a good one, where when you search and you search for a destination, for example, Bali, which actually there is no guide for yet, Lonely Planet asks you to vote for the next city and even asks for the reason, so that hopefully they will be producing a guide if they see there is enough demand. It might be too late for your trip, but others might benefit. I think EasyJet is actually doing this extremely well in terms of just asking their customers, do you travel for leisure or for business, which already gives them at least some basic insights about the motivation for the trip. The next big activity, and again, this is not technology, has to follow what you want to do. And technology can help to understand data and turn it into insight. And it can also help to engage customers. And there are examples such as conversational commerce and robotics. There is the example here of Finn, which is the Facebook assistant of Finnair, which was created by Caravello for Finnair, which is excellent. It helps to book flights, track flight status. You can ask questions. But the other big element in this field, which now gets more and more normal in Asia already more than in Europe, is voice. And if you only think about what you can ask Siri and how well it works now, while it's in the beginning it couldn't differentiate between different accents and had certain problems, you actually have a huge list of what you can ask Siri. This is just an extract which I'm showing here. But it doesn't yet include travel, whilst Apple claim that they are working on it. And there are other voice solutions, Amazon with Alexa being very much ahead of the game and moving ahead fast with lots of different applications making up Alexa's brain and helping her to respond properly. And I've got this example of Expedia, who are actually moving ahead quite fast and with determination into this area.
Now serving your travel needs is the Expedia skill for Amazon Alexa. Let's take her for a spin.
Alexa, launch Expedia.
Welcome to Expedia. You have an upcoming trip to Las Vegas on November 29th. I can help you get details on your upcoming trip. Add a rental car or check your loyalty points. What can I do for you?
Get flight details.
You have an upcoming flight in 18 days. Your non-stop flight from San Francisco International to Mataran International departs at 9 a.m. on November 29. You are flying Virgin America from Terminal 2. You are scheduled to land in Las Vegas at 10:30 a.m. local time on November 29. Can I help you with anything else?
Yes, reserve a car.
Okay. I have economy, full size, luxury, standard SUV. Which type of car would you like?
Standard SUV.
I have three total prices for a standard SUV car. Starting with the cheapest option. Would you like to get a car from Fox for $106.26?
Yes.
Your total price, including taxes and fees, will be $106.26. Your standard SUV car will be ready for pickup at Las Vegas Airport on November 29. Should I book this car for you now?
Yes.
You're all set. You will receive an email shortly. You can cancel your car booking on the Expedia website. Drive safe. Can I help you with anything else?
No thanks. Close.
Thank you for using Expedia.
So it's not yet in place for real flight bookings, but actually Expedia so far use Alexa for flight information, but also for bookings of ancillaries. So if the airlines don't move ahead, then for sure OTAs and others will take up this game. And voice also is a big facilitator in terms of language differences and language issues. Or if you look at that from the customer perspective, you can now read your Kindle book and continue listening to it whilst you are on the run, walking, in the car, whatsoever. Customers do start and get very much used to it. And actually customers in Tokyo, if they enter a department store and they ask for the lady at the information for details where they find actually what they want to purchase, they suddenly think at the end, there's something strange about this lady in her beautiful kimono. And actually, it is a humanoid robot. And there are lots of experiments going on in Japan, already much more advanced than in Europe. But lately, Munich Airport and Lufthansa, actually, as we speak, are testing Josie Pepper in order to give information to customers. For the moment, still static, at a specific dedicated points during the test phase, but this could be very much likely to move around in the future. And Josie Pepper could sell ancillaries, could make people aware of what to expect. And again, airports might move ahead here faster, and ideally there would be cooperation because they could still sell ancillary services from the airline side and vice versa. The next thing is, given where customer expectations are moving, to also enhance and augment your experience. This is when you can really make a difference. Because experience is getting much, much more important for customers, in particular millennials, over products. They want a flexible experience, they want a personal experience, and omni-channel. They want to start on the desktop, continue on the mobile, and vice versa, and just think through the whole experience from starting to think about a trip up to actually arriving, getting home, and continuing. So being able to get into their overall mindset, this is where you can make a big difference and ultimately sell more and really differentiate from your competitors. And this is basically where all of the 5 technologies I'm talking about and focusing on today come in. Yet not to forget, experience can sometimes mean very simple things. And I think this little girl who loves the painting and drawing in this big, on this big paper is just a very good illustration about this, about the human factor, and not to forget about the simple things. Other examples, just if you look across industry, just to ask the customers about what their preferences are. Actually, this is an example from rail, which Alexa interrupted me right now. This is an example from rail where actually Deutsche Bahn is just asking about, this is actually the UK rail, asking about your preferences. And airlines still treat seats and seat maps as if it's all about the physical cabins, which they once created many, many years ago. But why, in today's world, cannot be your individual cabin as many cabins as there are seats on the aircraft? Because all of us are completely different, and we might prefer different things, from sitting in the front, having a seat next to us, being in the quiet zone, being very willing to pay maybe for a seat with a socket to charge your phones or other devices, and so on. It leaves lots of possibilities. And the physical cabin becomes completely irrelevant. Also, just simple personalization that you are, when you get your confirmation, it's just those little details to think about, that you actually have a link to the destination that you have just booked. And so actually it's like this little extra peace of mind and this little extra experience that you've done the right thing. On the robotics side, there might be opportunities in the future. I don't know how many of you have been working and spending lots of time, maybe disproportionate time, on the whole catering and sales of food and drinks on board, which have normally very, very low margin, will never be really, really good, in particular the food, because the taste buds are different, but also because the logistics are so expensive that what is ultimately spent for the food is always quite a low quality. Whilst at the airport, there are now such excellent places where you can eat and consume, basically, that maybe there could be synergies. So have a quick look at a startup from San Francisco, Marble, who are running this project at the moment, this test phase for robotics doing delivery services. They are rolling out in San Francisco, and they actually look at the moment like a kitchen. Eat24 is Marbit's first partner, and users order from the app and then opt in for robot delivery. And then they just enter a code, open this kitchen when the robot arrives, and get whatever they ordered from the robot. And then the robot rolls home to the Marble headquarters. So this could actually open opportunities to suddenly to cooperate with the airports, with the airport retailers, and offer the customer to buy the food which they really want, which they prefer. There are so many food preferences now, from vegan to vegetarian but eating fish, to I call myself a flexitarian. There are lots of different preferences, and also partly restrictions due to religious restrictions and so on. So if you can just order what is available at the airport and a bot delivers it to the gate, this could make the whole experience so much more interesting and valuable, and could achieve big savings. So maybe as an airline, you could instead use some of the space, only offer drinks, so you don't need all of these trolleys, and you could use that space to offer massage on board as a service, or other services to think about, or simply add additional seats and get more revenue. On the distribution side, a lot is happening in terms of blockchain. So this here is the example of Winding Tree. They have had their ICO in February this year. They partner with the Lufthansa Group, but also with Air New Zealand, with Nordic Choice Hotels, and a few other partners in order to develop the distribution chain further with blockchain. The government of Aruba is working with startup Winding Tree, actually in order to connect tourists directly with travel suppliers on an Ethereum-based platform, so all based on blockchain. And we've heard a lot about the destination planning, how it adds and enhances the experience if, as a customer, you get aware of what is possible. And it increases the planning, the pleasure of planning, and it can increase your revenue and even your standing and perception, and a reason to like you as a company and prefer you as an airline over others. Another example is Block Sky. And Block Sky actually is looking at securely targeting prices at specific user groups, so personalized pricings, and at the same time getting real-time feedback and opening up transactions to third-party opportunities, which blockchain overall actually helps to do. And maybe for those, it's very difficult to explain blockchain in a couple of sentences, but it's all about trying to get a secure system in order to do an operation with a third party without having to go through a middleman. This is enabled through decentralized servers, through a kind of basically coin-based, going down to a coin-based system, and building trust through the whole blockchain environment. And therefore, it helps to actually integrate partners in a completely new way and distribute in a completely new way. And another example for this is Fizzy, which actually does offer smart insurance with automatic compensation. So if your flight is, for example, 2 hours late, you get your money without claiming. So it all gets easier for the customer, and it gets easier for the airlines as well. CryptoCrypts is another startup in the blockchain sphere, and this is related to short-term vacation rentals. So this has been getting attention as well. Yet there are also some very simple examples when it's just about how you can actually use latest web technology to really create simply a better experience, but you have to think it through, you have to live it yourself, test it yourself as well. And it's just about integrating via simple APIs, for example, special offers at an airport, offering services such as time saving through security by booking the fast track, and Flio as another aggregator is one to just link to. And this is the example of EasyJet, who have done just this and therefore enhance the experience for their customers, yet link in with a third party. Just with a little bit of innovation, how to market this, I think this afternoon T-bus tour is a good example to just think about and include it. It's basically selling a sightseeing tour in London in a different way and therefore being more appealing to families. And just one more reminder, not to forget about the little things in the whole experience, which can sometimes create a wow, is if you look at this board here, you might not notice anything special. But actually the special thing is this little arrow, which you see at the end of each line, which tells you exactly where to go, whether left or right when you come out of the door. And these are the simple things which are often missing. It's about predicting as well what your customer might need, what might make their life easier, which will immediately create a wow and a more meaningful experience. And the last trend fitting into this range and helping to really enhance your travel experience is the interaction of human and technology. Journey is a startup which actually do offer to plan your trip, to plan what you do at the destination. And what they do is they've got an excellent app, but at the same time, behind the ones offering you the trip that you want according to your preferences are humans preparing the right fit for you. Cool Cousins is another one, and this is actually a recommendation platform using blockchain technology, but also combining the human part and actually building somehow on the sharing economy. So they want to turn users into travel agents in their cities. So visitors can ask for recommendations and their so-called cousins are incentivized to participate thanks to the platform's tokens. So customers can earn rewards for helping others and offering good advice, which is quite a cool idea. And they will have had their ICO started by now, actually. And last not least, Loyal as the internet of loyalty, also a loyalty approach based on blockchain and innovating and allowing for smart contracts. To conclude, if I had to summarize and let you take away something, it would actually be 3 main points. One is you have to develop a total retail mindset. I think airlines are too much focused on the operational and transactional thing, which is sometimes much easier. But a total retail mindset is focused on the customer, listening to the customer, thinking about the customer, and developing the right opportunities for the customer in a personalized way. Everything is about retail. It's opportunities for future follow-up. And if you do that, you suddenly realize that it doesn't make sense to just link everything you do to just one event or just one person or just one PNR. Suddenly you get into this retail mindset that actually maybe I could buy for my mom to have a seat free next to her, or to have a porter service when she arrives at her destination, so she doesn't have to carry her luggage, and she doesn't even worry about how to get to the arrivals part at an airport she hasn't yet been at, and doesn't have to queue for too long. Or I could order flowers even in the plane as a present, and so on. So it's not all about just this one person, this one event. Suddenly groups could actually order according to the occasion. Hen nights could have a little champagne on board, but it would all work automatically and be offered automatically, and not as some do now to try and create manual workarounds. It should feel like coming into your store for something completely different, because you suddenly know that maybe even on board there are always these trendy things and you can buy them at any time, and you get known for this, and you can enter your store much more often because there are meaningful products or services that you can use, and you actually refer to them as a reference, and this makes you recommend them. Also, stop talking about ancillaries. If you look at the share of these services, they actually are so significant now. And actually, it's a core business. And put this into the core. It's like offer a vegetarian meal and the meat as a side dish. This is kind of the thinking you should adopt. You could appeal much more to the customer and get much more meaningful experience and revenue, and through this customer understanding. Also, the power of human engagement, don't forget about it. It means collaboration, it means training. Start in your organization, don't complain about what you cannot yet do, but start with this and start using some of these simple tools, and think about where the human really makes sense and is important for customers. And finally, last not least, review as well what you can bury, what you can put to the graveyard, with a nice ceremony maybe. But do not use the graveyard as a basis to build your house. You will not be able to leave that completely aside if you want to succeed, if you want to be ahead of the game. Do things differently. Thank you very much. I hope I could give you some new ideas and new approaches.